Hey guys, it's Miss Carla. Um, so I am going to be walking you guys through our assignment today. First, I want to start off by saying I apologize for any noise you hear in the background, but that's real life. Um, my daughter's hanging out, playing her Switch and watching some YouTubers. So I apologize for that. My dog might bark, my bird might tweet, but that's okay. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm just getting over a cold, so if I sound kind of congested, that's why. Um, yeah, so I hope you guys all really enjoyed the book that you read. Most of you read I Am Malala, and then CJ, you read 3 Cups of Tea. It's a really excellent books. Please submit your summary if you haven't submitted it yet, and so that I know that you read the book. I also want to point out that as we get into the writing process, it is really important that you submit your own work. Never ever go online and copy and paste something because it's very obvious when someone does that. And as you get into high school and college, that can get you into a lot of trouble. Also, in the real world, it can cause you to get sued or other things. So plagiarism is a really big deal. For the first part of this unit, we were really focused on reading. So you guys were reading the books and reading articles and things in social studies to really understand the social inequality in the developing versus the developed world. So again, we live in the developed world or the first world. And then there are other countries, which you read about, that are developing. Some would say that those titles are not very fair and maybe we shouldn't use those terms. But for the purpose of this unit, we're just going to use those terms to simplify things. So we really dived pretty deep into what are some things that cause inequality. And I know Miss Stacy went really deep into also teaching you guys about inequity and the difference between inequality and inequity. The thing that I'm really interested in is I want to know what you think the top 5 human rights would be to help equalize humanity. So you can see here on your assignment today, I've got the unit question front and center because that's the first thing you always want to refer to is what is the prompt asking you to write about? So some really key features of this question are what are the contributing factors or what causes there to be inequality? And then the bigger question is what are the rights that if everybody had them in the world, how could we help equalize humanity? You could even argue whether you think it is ethical or moral to even try to equalize humanity. I personally think that it is, but there are, a lot of cultural factors that we could talk about. But for today's lesson, what I want you to think about is planning out your writing. So we're going to use a format that I learned that it was created by the National Literacy Coalition. And they say the best way to organize your writing is to first pick apart this question and think about what it's asking you. So the first thing we're going to do is something called TAPP. And TAPP stands for topic, audience, purpose, and plan. So your topic is simply 5 human rights to equalize humanity. Your audience for this paper is going to be Miss Carla. And I'm also going to, although we're not going to be able to do it in person, I'm going to try to get a few community members together to read your essays and give you some feedback, and then we can plan some final Zoom meetings around that. The purpose I'm going to teach you in just a moment, but writers always have a purpose. So the purpose of this paper, your purpose, is to explain. And when we explain, and you'll see this in just a second, when we explain, we want to plan with a what, why T-chart. Okay. So now you can see how we've tapped that out. I've placed a link here for you guys to go to the UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's got a list of a lot of human rights that you could pick from in case you need to think about it. It looks like this. So each article lists a human right. And I would argue that they do not have to go in this order. That's going to be your choice to explain what order they should go in. What are the first through fifth most important rights? Do you think it's education? Do you think it's the right to vote? Do you think it's simply the right to pursue your happiness? Maybe you think it's the right to religious freedom. You could also look at our own Constitution if you wanted to look at different rights that we have as Americans or other countries' constitutions. So then what you're going to do is you're going to use this T-chart here and fill this in and tell me what 5 human rights you think are the most important, and then why and how. So when you explain something, you have to tell the what, and then you have to explain why and how that thing would solve the problem. And again, the problem we're trying to solve is equalizing developing and developed countries. So what human right, and then why, how will it help to equalize humanity? Okay. This is just the very beginning of our essay. This is just the pre-planning. So this does not have to be perfect. This is just you getting your ideas out on the page, brainstorming, thinking. You're not locked in at this point. I just really want to see your thinking. The other thing I want to point out is as a GT class, I'm kind of asking a little bit more from you guys. I'm asking that you think critically and deeply about 5 human rights. So when we get to planning out our essay, that's going to mean that we have an introduction paragraph, and then we're going to have 5 body paragraphs about each human right, and then we'll have a conclusion that sums everything up. If you're not comfortable writing a 7-paragraph essay, then just choose 3 human rights. But I'd really like to advocate that you guys challenge yourselves with this so that you don't get bored and so you can do more of a deep dive since you are in the GT class. So here are some writing tips. Let me get this guy where I want it to be. Okay, so every author, which you guys are an author, you guys are authors, excuse me, has a purpose for their writing. We're either describing, instructing, telling a story, explaining, or persuading. So when we describe, we're looking at the most specific features of something or somewhere. And so when we describe, we use I call this like an alien paw print. You've got your main topic right here, and then you'll have one major feature, and then you branch off into describing it in more detail. Okay, so you could describe Sebesky Academy. I'm sure you all have various thoughts about how to describe Sebesky Academy. I would personally say awesome, individualized, and Miss Carla's homeroom is the best. Just kidding. But that's just for description. To instruct, you guys are probably really familiar with instructions, right? We're just step by step. This is very like think IKEA or recipes or putting together a model. So a lot of times in elementary school, your teachers will have you do the, how to fold a towel, and you have to write it all out. So that's to instruct. So you have these steps, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's really important to be able to write good instructions. Next, we have to tell a story. We spent the first half of the school year really diving into stories. We, read The Forest of Hands and Teeth and worked on that. So when we tell a story, we create a little timeline, or you can create a plot line like we did in class. Now here's to explain. That says the explain. Pardon me. When we're explaining something, again, we're giving the what and the why and how. So we could explain the water cycle. We could explain why yoga is a good workout, or maybe why it's not a good workout. The life cycle of a frog. We can also explain what 5 human rights could help equalize humanity. When we're explaining, again, we create this what, why, how T-chart. Finally, there is to persuade, which we will talk about this at the very end. So a lot of advertisement or political propaganda, debates, things of that nature are persuasion. And when we are persuading, the plan is another T-chart, but this time instead of what, why, we use an argument, and then we have to back that up with evidence. Okay, so again, these are all of the reasons that authors write: to describe, instruct, tell a story, explain, and persuade. Your job, my friends, is going to be explain. So one more time, I want you to really look at the guiding question. I've already filled in the TAPP for you. What I want you to do today is to tell me what human rights specifically you're advocating for, and then why and how they will help equalize humanity. Remember, this is just a plan. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's more of just like a catch-all for your brainstorms and what you've been thinking about throughout this. I'd really like for you guys, since you're in the GT class, to really push yourself to come up with 5. But if you're not comfortable with that, just reach out to me and let me know that you're going to go with doing 3. 3 would be the minimum. All right, so happy writing. Have fun planning, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, I miss you guys. Have a great day.